Hi everyone, happy Thursday afternoon. It's almost Friday. Great work that you've done this week. I've loved to see it and I love responding to it. So welcome to your art lesson. Let's get started. All right. So today we're going to be learning how to write instructions for how to make a secondary color. So kind of building on what we did last week. And let's get started. So in the information below the video, I've posted a link to the Art Hub YouTube account, and I've posted a specific video today, but you can choose any video from the Art Hub account to use as your 5-minute doodle. Oh dear, we still have last week's date on it. It is the 28th today. So if you want to, you can pause the video now and go back to the video instructions, and you can follow the link or copy and paste the link to Art Hub. You can also search in the YouTube bar Art Hub for Kids, and that will come up with the Art Hub account. And it has so many amazing videos that the children are really used to doing as their 5-minute doodle. So you can go and do that and then come back to this video to get your art lesson started. All right, so having a look at our just checking. So the first question is a true or a false question. You can do thumbs up, thumbs down, you can write it down. You can tell it to a learning partner if you have someone with you. So true or false, the artist Kandinsky is still alive today. True or false? And that is false. Most of the artists we've been learning about are artists who lived in the last century, but they're not alive today. Next question is, what is abstract art? So we've talked about realistic and abstract art for the last couple of terms. What does abstract mean? So pause the video, have a go, have a think at sharing that. Welcome back. So abstract art, as we've talked about before, is art that doesn't look like real life. It uses lots of shapes and colors and different lines to create a really beautiful piece of art, but it doesn't look like the real world around us in the way that we would see it if we went outside. Now we're going to have a look at our next question. And I want to know, what does realistic mean? So if abstract means it doesn't look like real life, what does the word realistic mean? Pause the video, have a think, have a chat. And welcome back. So realistic means, like it says in the name, real. It's art that looks or depicts pictures that look like they do in real life. And finally, your last challenge is, can you name these colors? So pause the video, have a go at listing them off. Right, and those colors are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, brown, black, white, and gray. Fantastic. Okay, so two new words that we're going to be looking at today are primary colors and secondary colors. We did look at them a little bit last week, but it's really important for us to know which colors are primary colors and which colors are secondary colors. So you're going to be hearing that a lot in this lesson. So now before we get started, I want you just to have a little look at this beautiful piece of art. This is a Kandinsky piece of art. And my questions are, what shapes can you see? What lines can you see? And what colors can you see? So pause the video, have a think, have a share. What can you see? Lovely. So welcome back. So we can see lots of different colors. Even though it has a black background, there's so many colors in this picture that are quite bright, and they look quite bright because the black background is there, I think. We also see lots of different circles, and I love how they've created circles using color, but they've also created circles with the absence of color. So having that circle empty with just the black background shows us that lovely shape coming through. Lots of curved lines, obviously, with the circle, but I think lots of nice overlap lines as well. All right. So last week we talked about primary colors. Can you name the colors on the screen? That's right, we have red, yellow, and blue. And last week we said that primary colors are a group of colors from which all other colors can be obtained by mixing. So we don't mix colors to get the color red. We don't mix colors to get the color yellow or blue. These are the colors that we use to make other colors. And now looking at our secondary colors, so we say secondary colors are the colors that are made by mixing the primary colors. And you can see on our color wheel where the arrows are. And by using our color wheel, what we did last week is how to look at, so we said, I want to make orange. So we looked at the sandwich around it. So if this is the color I want to make in the middle, what are the two pieces on either side that I have to mix together? So if I want to make orange, I have to mix red and yellow. If I want to make green, I have to mix yellow and blue, that's right. And finally, if I wanted to make purple, what two colors would I have to mix? Have a go at answering that question. That's right, I would need red and blue. Fantastic. Okay, today we're going to learn how to write some instructions for how to make a secondary color. So let's have a look at the success criteria for writing instructions before we get started. So to write good instructions, which we've done many times before, we wrote them for our reindeer food near Christmas, we wrote them for how to make gingerbread biscuits, so we know how to write instructions. And there are certain things that instructions need to have. So this would be a great page for you to take a picture of, for you to freeze when you're doing your work, come back to this one, or to write it down, because our success criteria tells us everything we need to do a good job. So for writing instructions, we have to have how to in the title. So when I said how to make gingerbread biscuits, that was for making gingerbread biscuits. For making reindeer food, we said how to make reindeer food. So now to make a secondary color, we're going to say how to make a secondary color. So we need to have that title right at the top. Second thing that we need in writing instructions are we use lists. So we list materials or ingredients or equipment we might need. And we also list the steps that we need to follow. The steps that we need to follow are a special list. And if you look down at the next step, it says we need to have numbers or letters to show the order. So when we're writing the actual instructions, we know we have to do it in a certain order. So we need to use those numbers to show it. We also need to use our imperative verbs, which are kind of our bossy verbs that we talked about. You're telling your reader what they need to do. And we're going to talk a bit more about bossy verbs on the next slide. We also need to use short, clear sentences, so they're really easy for the reader to read and understand. And finally, we can use diagrams or illustrations, so we can add some pictures to show what we mean. So thinking about those bossy verbs that we might use for mixing paint, we might say things like squeeze, you have to squeeze the paint tube, pour the paint in, stir, and mix. So those are the kinds of bossy verbs that we're looking for, those imperative verbs in your writing today. So before you get started, I've made an example so we can have a look at what that success criteria looks like together. So we're writing about making any secondary color. I've chosen the color purple today, but you can choose any secondary color you like. So you can see my how-to title right at the top, how to make the color purple. So you're going to choose whatever color you would like to make. It might be purple. And you're going to write how to make the color and your color at the top. You will need, so now I'm going to make a list. And I can already see some of you know exactly what these are called. We've talked about them in class before. Usually we see them as circles. They're called dashes on the screen, but we call them bullet points as well. So usually when they're circles, we call them bullet points. So we're making a list, like they've told us to. Step 2, make a list of your ingredients. So you will need blue and red paint, because if I go back to my secondary colors, I can see that to make purple, I need to have blue and I need to have red. So you will need blue and red paint, paper, a palette. And since palette is a special art word, I thought that would be a really good word for me to have a picture beside it. So you might want to draw a picture of some of those things that you will need, because that will help your reader if they read it and they say, I don't know what a palette is, but if you can see a picture of it, it makes it a lot easier. So you'll need a palette for you to put your paint on and do your mixing, and you'll need a paintbrush for your mixing. So I've got a list of what I will need. And then my next step is to write the instructions. So you can see I've got my numbered list down the side because my steps come in order. I'm ordering them using those time sequencing words. So first, next, then, finally. You know how to use those words really well because we use them in our writing all the time. And you can see in red, squeeze, add, stir, mix, add. Do you remember what we called those kind of words? I'll go back to the steps. So we've got how to, we've got the lists, we've got the numbers. That's right, there are imperative verbs or our bossy verbs. So first, squeeze some blue paint into a palette. Next, add some red paint into the same palette. Then use a paintbrush to stir and mix the colors together. If you notice that the paint is still too blue, which is something we noticed last week when we did some mixing, we have to add more of the other color. So we have to add more red and then keep stirring. Finally, you should have some purple paint to use. So no more than 4 or 5 steps. You won't need to have too much writing today, but you're going to be using that color wheel to help you have a think about what materials you're going to need, what kind of art materials you'll need. And then you can follow your steps to success to make sure your success criteria to make sure that you have everything you need to write those instructions. And when you're all done, you'll be left with a really beautiful set of instructions for how to make a color. And you'll have used all your success criteria. And I can't wait to see them. Send them in because they might end up in the newsletter. You just don't know. And please make sure you use this is art, so you can be as creative as you want. You can do a beautiful border around the outside. You can decorate it. You can do those diagrams and illustrations really, really beautifully. And I can't wait to see what you come up with. So happy instruction writing this afternoon, everyone. Bye.